What?
Is that your pegging Vaseline?
No, no, it's not my pegging Vaseline. Do you think I would leave my pegging Vaseline out?
I I left my lube out the other day by accident, just in the toilet. Because I was putting it back into the mirrored cupboard that we keep it in, and I took it into the bathroom and then left it on the shelf. And then my mum came around, and I was like, "Fuck! I've left that lube right out. Maybe she'll notice it." And I went in after her to use the toilet,
and she put it away.
It was away, and I was like, But like, of all the things she could have done, she could have just left it, and then I would have known she'd seen it. She knew she'd seen it, but the two of us could have just lived in a world where we pretended that neither of us know. But that act of being like, just gonna put that in the cupboard for them is like, well, now, cheers, mum.
But it's also such
cheers, ma'am.
It's also such a nice mum thing to do. It's like, oh, I'll just tidy up for him.
I'll just tidy up for him. Maybe she didn't notice it. Maybe she didn't notice that she was putting my lube away from the penis-shaped bottle that says Durex for her.
Or the funnier thing is she went, oh, there's my lube, and then she took it home with her.
Yeah, I can't find it.
It's meandering movies. It's meandering movies. It's meandering movies. So won't you lend an ear?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Meandering Movie Podcast. Lates, where we're talking. It's 9:30 at night. It's dark out. We're going to be talking about one of the biggest, hottest movies out right now.
It's 2 in the afternoon.
It's not. Why do you keep trying to confuse people? And also, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying it because it's interesting. We never record at night. We always record during the day.
We used to always record at night.
Oh, fuck. Shut up.
We used to exclusively
We are going to be talking about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about The Little Mermaid.
If you want.
God, no. Didn't see it, don't care.
I haven't seen it either. Hannah saw it. She said it was okay.
Woo.
There you go.
There you go. That is our review of Little Mermaid.
I'll do one of them a week. That's my new bit. I'm gonna be my
send Hannah to the cinema to watch
Hannah
something,
and then give Hannah's review. Yeah, it was all right.
and it has to be 5 words or less.
So we're going to talk about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse because it's out. It's blowing up the cinema. People are fucking loving it, which is a great thing for me.
Not surprising.
But Gav, you had a bit of structure. Oh, and as always, I'm Gary Copeland, Boyd, and I'm joined today.
I am the organic web that shoots out of your little bits. Gavin Stewart.
But Gav, you wanted to start the conversation today.
So here, is a loose structure that I'm going to present for this episode. I might even put time codes in. Imagine if I do that. I'm feeling, fancy with my editing these days for you to follow along with. But straight off the bat, spoilers. We're going to spoil.
Yes.
Because you cannot talk about this movie without spoilers. So if you've not seen Across the Spider-Verse, but you have listened to the 20-minute opening we just did, I'm sorry, but you might as well turn this off now because we're going to spoil the fuck out of this episode.
You can come back, though.
Obviously come back. Anyway, just show up, So we're going to talk about the first Spider-Verse movie because it's a movie that needs to be talked about. We talked about it a wee bit before in the past, but we want to talk about it some more. We're then going to talk about Across the Spider-Verse, our thoughts, our feelings, our love and joy for it. We're also going to talk about the situation with it being a two-parter and when part 3 is coming along. And then we're also going to talk about it in comparison to some of these other superhero multiverse movies, which does mean, unfortunately, we'll have to break our no Marvel rule and perhaps talk about some Marvel movies.
Bit of Marvel.
Which...
What a surprise.
Woo! But yeah, we're here to talk about Across the Spider-Verse because, oh my God.
Across the Spider-Verse. So so this is the sequel to the fucking earth-shatteringly good
Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse. The naming conventions, although I appreciate it, are too similar.
What is it with Spider-Man movies and annoying name conventions?
So Into the Spider-Verse. Let's chat about it. Did we not do an episode on this?
So we did
We spoke about my favorite films. I think this is where it came up a lot, right?
It came up on that, and then I also did the definitive Spider-Man movie rankings,
in
which we both ranked Into the Spider-Verse as the best Spider-Man movie ever made.
Because it is, and currently it still holds that title. Into the Spider-Verse is, without getting too far into it, because we have spoke about it a bunch, it's just great. It's just a fucking phenomenal film. It introduces characters that are interesting, that are diverse, that are that have nuance. I think I mentioned this previously, and I'll say it again. The fact that you have Kingpin as your villain, Kingpin. The fact you have Kingpin as a villain, who you get to the end of the film, and you go, "Oh man, that sucks." Like I actually feel bad for Kingpin, but not in a like an overwrought way. Just a like, "Oh fuck, that's heartbreaking."
It feels like a movie where every character that it gives you, almost all of them get like an emotional arc or a story arc. It's not just like, I mean, we'll talk about this when we get to Across the Spider-Verse. There's even background characters that you think are nothing that turn out, they evolve into something even bigger and more fleshed out. Like even with the Doc Ock, you've got Catherine Hahn's version of Doc Ock and stuff, and you've got Kingpin, you've got Chris Pine as that universe's Spider-Man, but then you've also got Nicolas Cage is like noir Spider-Man, and all of them have their little things that build them as characters, which Across the Spider-Verse just takes to a whole new fucking level. But Into the Spider-Verse was a movie that I don't think anyone...
just very quickly, on the Spider Noir chat, I saw a story about this today. Have you seen this?
No.
Nick Cage turned up for his recording session, delivered a performance for Spider Noir for the first film, and they were like, yeah, Nick, great performance, mate. But we were wondering if you could like Nick Cage it up. And he was like, oh yeah, you want the full Cage. And went back into the booth and delivered basically line for line what we got in the film. Like just hammed it up, and they were just like, that's fucking perfect.
It's because it's exactly what, one, he's maybe my favorite character in the first and Into the Spider-Verse, but two, it so perfectly fits the tone.
Yeah.
Like the way he delivers, or the way John Mulaney delivers for Spider-Ham, like everyone delivers the tone of their character that works perfectly. And then that film also balances out an incredible tone of it's fun, it's silly. Look at these jokes, but also it's going to tear your heart out.
Yeah.
And it's going to stomp on it, and you're going to want more of it.
It blends. You're right. It blends it perfectly. Like it makes the whole. Like the first one, I didn't. The first one, I think it plays very well as a kids' film, and it's got some more kind of mature moments to it. But for the most part, I would firmly say Into the Spider-Verse is a solidly good Spider-Man movie aimed at kids, teens, and adults. Like the full gamut.
Everyone can enjoy
everyone. And we will get to this, but and it works for that, absolutely. But it goes from joke to kind of more serious moment, joke to more serious. But it definitely leans on the lighter element.
Because I remember,
which isn't a problem. It's a good thing.
Well, not at all. But when Into the Spider-Verse came out, and I think it's the same for a lot of people, we all just kind of thought, really, like more Spider-Man? Why are we doing this?
Even I, before Into the Spider-Verse came out, was kind of like, do we really need another Spider-Man movie?
Also, just an animated one from Sony. We're like, really? Are we?
Yeah, they really hadn't built themselves up by that point. It was before the film came out. I was pretty doom and gloom about it. I did not think it was going to blow me away, and I was so happy to be proven wrong.
Oh yeah, because I mean, for me personally, going in trailer-wise, I'm like, these trailers look cool.
Yep.
But a trailer can like make anything look cool, but it can still be garbage.
Mortal Engines looked good in the first trailer.
Exactly.
I remember thinking, "Wow, that's an interesting concept."
Whew. I mean, the first Sonic trailer looked really cool, and it turned out to be the best movie ever made. So that's worked. But yeah, when I walked into the Spider-Verse, I was kind of like, I had an afternoon free. I was like, fuck it, I'll see what this is all about. And I remember by the end, I was just a bawling, bubbling mess of just like happiness, joy, sadness, like all of it. It just spans all of it. And that movie ends, and it wasn't even like a full showing, but people just started clapping and whooping when it ended. And I was just like, I've just watched something really fucking special.
Yeah. It's cool that I'm happy I exist at the same time as Spider-Verse.
Yes, like I'm happy I got to go to the cinema and be a part of this adventure. But the interesting thing with Into Spider-Verse, like it came out 5 years ago. It did well, but didn't have a massive box office gathering.
Yeah,
but
surprisingly. I think since then the thing is, since then, it didn't do great opening weekend or anything like that. But since then, it's kind of cemented itself as
like a cult classic.
I wouldn't even say a cult classic. I just think a classic. Like you ignore it is since been since it kind of broke out of that first weekend of the critics loved it and the diehard fans loved it, and it went on home video and COVID, and people were like, everyone, not just people, everyone was like, "Oh, this is a goddamn masterpiece!" Like, holy shit! Like, I haven't. I like to read reviews. I like to go out and I like to try and find, and I do try and be. I not that I like actively search out bad reviews, but I usually try and find the full spectrum.
Range,
you know, because it's interesting. You know, it's where dialogue comes from. I don't think I've ever seen a bad take on Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse.
I mean,
not one.
There'll definitely be like some internet.
Of course they will.
Troll out there that's just like, man, I didn't like this. I
didn't like it. There was too many female characters, and the main character was a POC.
Whoa.
I'm mad. Yeah,
But
you're you know what you are, mate? You're a fucking dickhead.
But yeah, Into the Spider-Verse has definitely been one of those word of mouth movies that over the 5 years, whether it being on streaming or Blu-ray, like you, for example, you've talked about having that 4K Blu-ray of the movie, and you're like, getting to sit there with your setup at home, it's still just magic to watch because the anime, like we've not even touched upon it, but the animation was groundbreaking.
A smorgasbord.
It changed the fucking game because animation at that time was your Pixar's, your Disney movies, your Illuminations.
We were kind of hitting this stagnation, this bit of like Disney were doing Disney things, which is fine. That's the Disney look, right? You can't.
They were still doing good things, but they weren't doing.
Yeah, you had like your Inside
things.
Out, which had a bit of stylization, but it was fundamentally Frozen, Inside Out, turning red. Even
the animation,
they all look like Disney films.
The animation was safe.
Yeah, Wreck-It Ralph.
The ideas were interesting, but the animation was safe.
Illumination were just churning out the Illumination look.
The money machines.
The money machine. And what else? I mean, who else was even putting out animation at that point?
Your DreamWorks were...
DreamWorks is fucking weird.
They're like, sometimes they give like Kung Fu Panda 2, and other times they give whatever it is not. Like they give you Shrek the Third.
Oh, and then they give you that monster wrestling film that came out recently.
Or the Aliens versus...
versus Monsters.
Or something like that. Yeah, just like they're...
That cast. The cast for Alien versus Monsters is insane. Do you know who's in that film?
Is Ray Romano one of them?
Seth Rogen,
right.
Hugh Laurie.
Okay.
I think you might be right. It might be Ray Romano.
Or am I just thinking of Manny from Ice Age?
Oh, you might be. Wait.
Yeah, because was it DreamWorks that did? No, Disney did Ice Age, didn't they?
Seth Rogen, Rob Letterman, Reese Witherspoon, Rainn Wilson, Paul Rudd, Will Arnett. John Krasinski.
They went for like a good comedy, like
Kiefer Sutherland, Hugh Laurie, Renee Zellweger, Stephen Colbert, Amy Poehler, Ed Helms.
Oh yeah, Stephen Colbert's great in that movie.
What a fucking what a stacked cast
of great comedy actors
to then just be forgotten about.
And well, because that movie probably came out the same year as like a Pixar or Disney or got forgotten.
I know that film came out and I watched it and it was terrible.
Oh.
That's the problem.
Stephen Colbert is funny in it though.
Well, like the voice, the jokes that land, and the voice's acting is good. The film still sucks balls.
Watched if that was
hoodwinked.
If that was DreamWorks, they would have nothing is hoodwinked. Honestly, animation wise, it goes hoodwinked then Into the Spider-Verse. That's the way it works for me. But I also was looking there. Into the Spider-Verse, the year it came out, that was also your years of like Black Panther and. We had Infinity War, like we were in that range of Marvel movies. Where like obviously Infinity War and Black Panther were huge fucking movies. So to stack up against that, Into Spider-Verse, was going to suffer a bit. But it, like I said, it came into streaming, got the word of mouth, and then it became one of those movies where like, oh, have you seen Into the Spider-Verse? Like, oh no, yeah, like, you need to watch it.
It also fucked us a little bit. Because once people realized, oh wait, everyone's responding really well to Into the Spider-Verse. Old Marvel and DC were like, oh, the multiverse? That's what people want? Like, no. That's not what we want. It worked well here, and that universe. This is what they're doing.
You want to see one scene where Patrick Stewart shows up as Xavier and we play the X-Men theme from a TV show that isn't related to this universe? Here it is. You're like, oh, okay.
In his little yellow floating fucking taxi cab.
It's like, all right, Cal. You want to see John Krasinski as the
Mr.
guy
Fantastic?
As Mr. Fantastic? Because all of you online have just said, it should be John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. Well, here he is.
He's Mr. Fantastic.
Anyway, we didn't do anything with that. We just showed you a thing. You went, I remembered the thing that I saw. Remember that thing I saw?
This is what I wanted.
I got the thing from the internet that I wanted.
But yeah, and then the other crazy thing, and this has blown my mind recently. Now that everyone's doing deep dives into the Spider-Verse and across the Spider-Verse, and I'm going to start leaning into Across now.
Yeah.
The amount of foreshadowing and the amount of storytelling and Easter eggs and things that have gone into the Spider-Verse that have now had not just a reference nod, like a, oh yeah, I remember that from the first film. Full
follow on.
Nope. This has always been the plan. This has always been the story.
I'm not sure, because there'll also be more interviews and things that come out. I've not done as much research. This might shock people, but this podcast does not have a lot of research going into it. But I don't know how much of that was planned or how much of it they just went, this works.
No. I fair enough. Maybe the specifics, but then there are some things that are so overly specific that right, and I'll explain more later on. But there are some things that are so inherently crazily specific that it can't have been a mistake. Like, it can't have just been I'll explain it a bit.
Before we get into that, let's just get your initial summary of what did you think of Across the Spider-Verse?
More fucking greatness. I
didn't like what you did.
I loved it. I genuinely loved it. I came out, I was blown away. More gorgeous animation, more fucking incredible story. I mentioned previously, 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago, the Into the Spider-Verse is a family film and everyone can watch it. So is Across the Spider-Verse. However, it is a inherently more mature movie. Yeah. I felt like the emotional bits were...
I would say they were more nuanced and complex.
Yeah. And for the better, don't get me wrong.
And sometimes I say words and I'm like, shut up.
But
when I hear myself say nuanced and complex, I'm like, shut up.
And it's for the better for sure. But I could imagine if I had a little one that there'd be some moments of this film that they'd be not as jazzed about, because they'd be like, oh, man, this is the fifth time Gwen and her dad have spoken for a prolonged period of time. I love it. I was watching those bits this is going to make me cry. But it's a long time. There's a lot of dialogue and a lot of emotional stuff. So it's
2 hour and 20-minute movie, and for some kids that's going to be
a long one.
But I suppose maybe for kids you kind of hope the flashy shiny lights will keep them going while everyone else can enjoy. Because I definitely think that with Across the Spider-Verse, it's doing what the audience has done, and that in between that 5 years, the audience that started with Into the Spider-Verse has grown up.
Yeah,
much
that's true.
Miles Morales and our characters, they have grown up. They're a couple of years older
doing
now.
The Toy Story thing, because Toy Story got progressively more and more mature.
Yeah,
which was cool, because
and then it just turned into hardcore porno in that last one. It was weird.
Toy Story 5. Woody's hard one. There's a
no. Woody's wooder.
Woody's
got a wood on.
Woody's rocking it with Buzzy.
Buzz is buzzing for some wood.
But yeah, no, it's a fucking great film. And then the animation still holds up. It's still fucking stunning. It's
not only does the animation hold up, but it evolves.
Oh, they've really pushed the envelope this time.
Because
they've gone further.
The opening with Gwen.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking God. Yeah. And then when you splash in the kind of Da Vinci-esque vulture model thing, and how you would think, well, the animation styles clash because that's the whole point, is these things are coming from different universes and they're clashing. And then you throw in your 2099 Spider-Man and all that, and animation-wise, again, he's different. He's more digital and kind of
more digital. She's just more smooth.
And then she's kind of watercolors and stuff, and just the way these animations, they clash.
I loved. I think I spoke to you about this, but I love the fact that every universe has a distinct style, and when they jump universe to universe, they hold on to pieces of their universe, but they fit into the.
Yeah.
It's a really subtle thing, but when Spider-Gwen is in Spider-Gwen's universe, it's all watercolors and brushstrokes that you can physically see.
And it kind of reacts with her emotions.
Yeah, and when she goes into Miles Morales' universe, it's that comic book chromic aberration, and she kind of holds on to that, but there's still an element of her look.
Yeah.
Then you get the ones that are actively blowing, you know what I mean, completely going out. But you've got Spider-Punk played by Daniel Kaluuya.
Oh, well, she is fucking amazing.
Great, fucking what a voice performance, and he just looks great. He sounds great. and he's got this visual look like the Sex Pistols kind of
like
anarchy.
And I also learned that different parts of his body are animated at different frame rates, and that's what gives him that kind of
I've seen this. So and this goes back to the first one. So in Into the Spider-Verse, they sometimes animate Miles on 2s rather than 1s, to make it show that he's not fully into the Spider-Maning thing. And by the end of the movie, they animate him on 1s, so he fits in. He's learned to be Spider-Man.
Do you want to explain these 2s and 1s to people?
2s are what? So animating on 2s is, in animation term, it means that if you are animating, you animate a new pose on every second frame. It's used for speed, and in this case, it's used to highlight that he's not in tune with the other characters that were animated on 1s, which means one pose per frame of the movie. In the new movie, Spider-Punk is animated on 3s. So he's the only character.
Because he doesn't conform.
He's out of the system.
It's just things like that.
It's crazy good.
Even when you boil it down to the animation of the character, they try and have the characteristics of that character play into their animation. It's just like...
So it's a visual language. It's this visual language that you subconsciously pick up on, that tells you more things about these characters than you could possibly know, because you're watching it. Like you're learning things about them without realizing you're learning things about them. Because it's the Spider-Verse team are, as far as I'm concerned, blowing it out the fucking.
I mean, this is a perfect reason why it took 5 years for not only part 2 to come out, but there's a wee bit longer for part 3. So clearly they were like, let's capitalize on this and let's do our big fucking follow-up, and also take the time to 'cause obviously they need the time to animate 17,000 different things. Because if you're starting your movie with Gwen and you're in this kind of watercolor world, and then you're having these villains clash in with their style, and then we move over to Miles's universe, and he has his style. And I remember when we moved to that, I was kind of like, oh, I recognize this now. This feels a wee bit more comfortable, because I'm trying to acclimate to Gwen's at first, and I'm like, oh, this is so... I loved it, but this is different, so where are we at with this? And then if we move to different universes or different things, it's just like it's just so much. Yeah. It's insane, and I can't even imagine the amount of time and work it took for the team.
It goes into it. It's
in this movie.
Insane. You did have a touch on one of the things I griped with at the time, and since I've kind of come around to it, and it's the problem I have is, and Gav said it, and again, spoilers if you haven't seen it, but if you have, you'll know exactly what we're going to talk about. The fact that it's a part 1. I genuinely think they've hidden that from everything, because I did not have a clue that it was a part 1.
I also had no idea.
I knew there was a third one coming out, but and it's fine. It is fine to do a 2-part film. But if you think about the sense of Lord of the Rings, if you think about the sense of any films like Star Wars,
Matrix Reloaded,
Matrix, all of these films, they are single-serving films. You can watch a movie and it has its own story that starts and finishes, right? And that's how a trilogy theoretically works. Into the Spider-Verse is its own contained movie. This is a 2-parter, so it's not that this is you can go and watch this and get a complete story.
Yeah.
No, you watch it, you need the next film.
Yeah, you cannot just watch this film and be like,
It's incomplete, because there are a million threads left hanging and there are no threads tied up, right? I don't think any of the story threads that get put down are
everything
tied
is
off.
This is kind of setting...
It's a complete setup movie.
In a way, yes.
There's none... You've got the Spot. You have Miles fighting the
Gwen's
society.
Story in a way, because she has that closure with her father.
Gwen's arc is closed, fine, but that's it.
I would say,
and even then, she is now fighting against the society with Miles because she needs to break the canon event of her father dying. So that still needs wrapped up. Whether or not her father will die, whether Gwen's going to come to terms with it and accept it, or actively push
I guess her
against
canon
it.
event is Peter dying.
Yes.
When he turns into like...
But it's kind of, not to get too far into this, where this one bit of the film, I was also like, you can't overthink it because it makes no sense. 29.9 is giving it like, it's canon events. All right, cool. So what's canon event? Uncle Ben always dies. All right, cool. Except Spider-Gwen. It's Peter that for her. So wait, does she have an Uncle Ben that's going to die? No. So what? So the canon events aren't canon events then.
The canon events are like, I think it's losing someone.
Yeah.
But it does start to be like, but what if they lose their postman? Does that count? Not my post, but he had my package.
Yeah, it's one of these things that you kind of just you need to not overthink, because I think you could pull the thread and it would unravel. But it works in the context of the film, the story. I totally get where they're going. But yeah, so this film does not close off any big story arcs. It is a part, which is why, as much as I love it, as much as I'm going to gush, and I'm going to continue to gush for another 30 odd minutes, I am refusing to rate it, because in my opinion, we have half a film.
It is, yeah, because we've obviously been talking a lot over
we've been texting.
Me, you, and Audio Boy.
We've been messaging.
To summarise for Audio Boy's thoughts, they absolutely loved it. They thought it was incredible. But yeah, we've been chatting a lot, and you've been saying like it's half a movie, I can't rate it yet. And at first I was like, no, I think I can. But the more I've thought about it, the more I kind of dive into like the plot threads and like all the story beats and the character moments, I'm like, I became conflicted, and I'm like, it is a film that has been released where it has a to be continued, but there is a fun ending.
Yeah. It is still watchable, but it is going to be infinitely better when you can watch part one and then go straight into part two. Yeah. Like if I was ever going to watch these films in the future, I would never ever stick on Across the Universe without the intention of watching Beyond within a day or directly afterwards.
Yeah, because like for a perfect example, like in the time of recording this, I was like, I want to watch some of the Indiana Jones movies. Yeah. And I was like, I'd seen Raiders of the Lost Ark recently enough. I wasn't in the mood for Temple of Doom. I thought, fuck it, I'll just throw on The Last Crusade.
Go for it.
And I can watch The Last Crusade because it is a beginning, middle, and end story with Indiana Jones and his father.
And it has a few threads to the first two. It leads with a few little, there might be more coming.
Yeah.
But you can watch it.
I can watch The Last Crusade, and it's
doesn't matter.
It's a
you
movie.
do not have to watch Ark and Temple. No. You can jump in.
And it's not like, because I watched Last Crusade, now I have to watch the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It's not like that. It's the same with like, if I want to watch The Two Towers, I can watch The Two Towers. Yes, there is the bigger arc.
There's loads. And Two Towers is a great one, because you get to the end of Two Towers, you'll be like, fuck, I really want to watch the next one. But you don't necessarily have to.
Yeah.
I would argue that in Across the Spider-Verse, I have no want to watch. Like, as much as I want to watch it, I do want to watch it again. I really want to watch it again closer to the next film coming out, because it's one half of a bigger film.
If they are smart, and cinema chains who are not great at getting people into the cinema these days, if they do a double feature or even a triple feature, I'll be fucking there for that. Because if I can go from Across the Spider-Verse straight into... Do we know what the third one's going to be called?
Beyond the Spider-Verse.
If I can go from Across the Spider-Verse directly into Beyond the Spider-Verse, what a fucking night that'll be.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Because Across the Spider-Verse, like, I think my biggest gripe, because again, I loved this movie, but my biggest gripe was the pacing in the beginning just felt really fast and dramatic and exciting. And then when we got back to Miles and his universe, it felt like the movie kind of went from we're on the motorway and we're 70 miles an hour to, oh shit, we're down into a 30 mile an hour zone now.
Because because you get Spider-Gwen's opening, and then she eventually goes into the Spider Society. Then it goes to Miles, who is at this point cut off from
everyone,
the rest of it. And it does, I really like that bit of the film, because it's it really fleshes out his parents. And I mean, like his parents go from characters that are interesting characters in the first film, but they're still the mum and dad figure with that's kind of it, to, oh man, I fucking love his mum and dad. Like, I love his mum. I'm like, I do not want anything to happen to Miles or his mum, because I'm like, I don't want to see his mum cry. I love his mum.
In the first movie, they are great emotional beats to Miles' story. Yeah. But in this one, they are their own characters that have their own fleshed out
shit going on. Like, it's crazy how fleshed out they get in what, 20 minutes of film.
Like that scene with it's the three of them in the university interview, and
Yeah.
he's just like, oh, she's reading out how he did in exams, like Spanish B, and she's like, B Spanish, and then you just look at the dad, and he's just like, I was like, you're trying to get yourself killed, boy. Like, what are you doing? Oh my god! And it's like they all have their little moments, but all within the one. Like, this is what makes it a perfect rewatch movie. Is you can catch these different things. Where she's screaming about this thing, Miles has been like, oh well, come on, and then the dad's like, are you trying to get yourself killed? And it's just like, like.
There's so much going on in every scene, but not in a detrimental way. It's just so much going on in every scene that you can watch it again and again and again. And
it's so exciting. Every scene just like, what about? Whoa! Oh god! Fuck that!
Yeah.
Oh my god! And it's going like, but that pacing when we come back to Miles, it feels like the movie almost restarts in a way.
Yeah.
We're on a roller coaster, we're going, Gwen's having a big fight, Spider 29's there, like, oh, this is exciting, and then it's like the roller coaster just kind of like stops when you're like in the middle of a loop, and then kind of
I can get what you mean.
resets back, and you're kind of like, and then it slowly starts to go through.
Would you not say, rather than it being caught in a loop, you've gone down the first big roller coaster down and you're on the second rise? It's because it's not a full, like, oh, the roller coasters broke down halfway through.
No, that's...
But I do get what you mean, that you basically have like a little mini film at the beginning. You have a little mini Spider-Gwen centric film.
Not Little Gwen's, it's Gwen's little film.
Yeah.
And when I felt like we got back to the Miles stuff, it did feel like
it does feel like a restart.
Very jarring.
I can get that.
And then we have to kind of reset the parameters again of like, well, here's Miles, here's where he is, here's where his parents are, here's who this villain's going to be. Let's get a wee bit of the villain stuff. Let's go back to the parent stuff. We're doing the parent stuff.
Yeah, I know what you mean, actually, because it's you actually it's a Spider-Gwen film at the beginning, like a little, like same, like the Annabelle movie at the beginning of The Conjuring. You have like a little Spider-Gwen movie, and then you are right, the film kind of starts again to then retread the ground with Miles, and it needs to do that because he's a year on. He's feeling a bit lost and dejected because he's not got his friends. He's doing the whole like, can I be Spider-Man? Can I be a good student? Can I be a good son? I don't know.
It's the usual, like, it's the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2 balance.
It
like,
is.
I need to find the balance in life, and I'm not doing it. Mary Jane's upset.
Has that great moment with his dad as well when he. Maybe one of my favorite bits in the whole film, actually, if not my favorite moment, when his dad's talking to Spider-Man and he doesn't know he's Miles, but he's giving him the like, Spider-Man, my son's getting big and I don't know what to do with it. Yeah. And Miles is like,
doing his like deep voice, I don't know, man.
Well, I think you need to let him spread his wings. You got to give him a bit of space. And it's like, it's just such a nice moment of like finally seeing somebody interact with, you know what I mean? Like seeing somebody interact with Spider-Man, not knowing the Spider-Man, but then having this heart to heart. I love it. It's so good.
But it's just,
and you get your villain intro there.
Get the villain intro, you get Spot, which we'll come to in a second. But yeah, it needs to do the family stuff for the later on revelation of your dad's your canon event and your dad's going to die. And so we need to do all of these things for the latter half of this movie
to make sense
for the next one. But it's just the way it was structured for me. It's because technically the movie's 2 hours and 20 minutes, but it could be 2 hours. But then you would lose the Gwen stuff, and I don't want to lose the Gwen stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, again, I'm conflicted.
Yeah.
I can get you. I'm conflicted with the beginning and I'm conflicted with the end, but everything in the middle, I just loved it. But I'm just
I think there's the next bit for me is that you are right. I'm not gonna argue that because I think you are right. I think it's more for me. I think it's more of like an up and down roller coaster. You're waiting for the next peak. But I do get where you're coming from. The problem I have with it, looking back now, is, and it's actually less of a problem. I was kind of, when I was in the cinema watching it, I actually remember thinking, like, this pacing feels odd. It feels like we're spending a lot of time. Like, I think at the hour and a half mark, I was like, it feels weird we're just starting to really pick up into the Miles fighting the Spider Society. Like, that's because my internal clock, I don't know when that happens exactly, but it felt like the hour and a half mark. And I was like, this is a 2 hour 20 film, so it feels like there's a lot of shit like a lot of ground to cover by the end of this movie. And then when it reached the end and it has its part twos coming, I was kind of like, oh fuck, I can't believe they've done that. I wish I'd known, because if I'd known, and knowing, like, looking back, it makes it not as bad, weirdly.
Audio Boy said when we were talking that the second watch helped him balance out the pace in his head.
Yeah,
because now they knew where it was going, so easier for them to wrap their head around it. Yeah. But with that first watch, because I didn't know it was
it's again because nobody knew it was a two-parter. So you're sitting watching, and your brain and everything you know about film is telling you we're at the end of the second act. But my internal clock is telling me that we're way off. Like, we're nowhere near the end of the second. This is weird. What the fuck's happening?
It was the scene where, for my head, I was kind of like, are we going to get to where we need to be? And it was when Miles's parents come up and Gwen's there, and then they leave, and Miles and his mum have that kind of conversation. And I was kind of like, I'm enjoying this and I'm happy we're doing this, but are we going to get to where we need to get to? Or is a lot of the stuff that I thought was going to happen going to be in this next the next movie? Like, is a lot of the Spider Society stuff? I was like, is Miles going to meet your 2099 guy, and that's how the movie ends? And we're not going to get all of this big exciting, like, this is the Spider Society. I'm glad we got all that. But I was just kind of like, what are we going to achieve here? Are we going to achieve what I hope we're going to achieve? And it does achieve it, but it's just jarring that first time round.
I agree. And it, again, because they didn't make it clear it's a two-part. I think it's a marketing thing, though. I do think that the reason they've done that is because if they'd put part 2 up, I would have gone and seen it in the cinema anyway because I'm a Spider sucker. But I could imagine a lot of people would be like, "Oh, okay, well, I'll just wait. I'll wait until the second one's out, and then I'll watch the first one followed by the second."
I was thinking another perfect example of that is the Denis Villeneuve's Dune movies. When it comes to watching Dune, I loved it. You loved it. We thought it was a great movie. But it feels like half of a movie. When you get to the end of that and they just wander off into the desert, you're like, oh, that's the end. Oh, okay. This, I felt like we were just ramping up.
But I would see again, though. I would argue that Dune is an easier watch as a solo film. Like, don't get me wrong. That's definitely it's closer to Spider-Verse than it is Lord of the Rings. But I would say it's a step down because it finishes in a satisfying place where you're like, okay. There's more story to tell, but like Paul he's finished with the Fremen.
I just loved it. When it comes to Dune, you've got all these big things that the guy's just called Paul.
I know. But you know what I mean? Like, he finishes with the Fremen, and they're like, look, you're going to be a big thing. That's going to be the next movie. But at least it finishes, and you're kind of like, okay, cool. Where Spider-Verse finished for me, I was just like, again, nothing's closed off. Like, there's no, there are no threads tied off. And here we go. Big spoilers now. You've got. I know. We're fucking so deep, but whatever.
We're just far gone into spoilers.
We're going to be talking about the ending now, which we shouldn't even fucking do it. Whatever, cut that out. You got Miles in.
Leaving that in.
You got Miles in Spider-Verse 42.
Yeah.
You have got. So you've got him with his Uncle Aaron, who's not the Prowler anymore. Miles is the Prowler. You've got the Spot going to not just actively kill Miles' dad, although that is the canon event, but the Spot going to just wipe out Miles' entire fucking home universe, which is crazy. You have the Spider Society like out for blood for Miles Morales and now Gwen probably. You've got Spider-Woman on the fence. Is she going to be an ally? Is she going to fight with? Is she going to have this kind of like internal struggle? And then you have Spider-Gwen rounding up the good spiders. You know what I mean?
Excited. When I saw fucking Spider-Ham and Spider-Noir, I was
just
like,
Penny Parker. You got Slobby Spider-Man. You got all these Holby Brown, Peter Pravati. You got all these like the good Spider Society gearing up to go and save Miles and fight, and it's like. None of that's none of it's resolved. I was like, all of that finished, and I was like, okay, are we about to do one of these things? Next film, come back for it. And I was like, what? Like, what? Like, not even because it's again. I know I've said it. It's half a film, but if they had wrapped up one of them, if they had done the Spot, had maybe wiped out the universe, and then they'd fixed it in the second film, or if they'd done the Spider Society, you know what I mean? Like, if we had one...
If they had something with a bit of closure.
Just one bit of closure, I would have gone, cool. That's sick. But it's everything's left on that split. So, yeah. I hope... Because I know we've been talking for fucking ages here, and I don't know if you're going to leave it all in or what. But...
God, we have.
I hope from what I've been saying here, you can appreciate that with all of that kind of griping, I will say once again, I fucking love the film, and it has made me stoked for Beyond the Spider-Verse. I'm beyond excited for it.
Thank fuck, it's only 9 months.
It's not going to be 9. It's getting pushed back. There's no way. There's no way they're releasing that in 9 months. I fucking hope they do. I am fully expecting.
My assumption is they'd be making both of these back to back.
Yeah, but I still don't think so. I think we'd be lucky.
It has to be.
I'm hoping so.
Because in comparison to another movie that Audio Boy and I went to see recently, I don't know if you saw it, was Fast 10, that ends in a cliffhanger, and it's just like, the team might be dead, and Dom and his kid are about to get destroyed by a thing, and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, we've had this cliffhanger. I would like to see part 2 so we can finish the story. When is it coming out? 2025. I'm just like, what? I won't remember anything when that comes out.
That's
and I might fuck sitting through that movie again, because part 10 might be the worst one I've ever seen.
So yeah, talking about Spider-Verse again as well. And yeah, I'm hoping it soon. I don't think it will be, but I'm hoping they get it out as quick as possible. But talking about Spider-Verse, and just referencing back to what I said at the beginning here, the amount of shit, and this is, I would love to sit in and speak to the writers and the production team and everyone to find out how much they actively did plan. Because Into the Spider-Verse, the first one, the kind of more obvious ones is that when you first see the spider, it glitches, showing that it's not from Miles's universe.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking that during the film, like, oh, cool, that's not from his universe. But I never questioned where it had come. You know what I mean? Like, I never questioned why it wasn't from his universe, because the film then very quickly is like, things from not his universe glitch. And it kind of sweeps past it. So that's a big story point here. It's fucking great. Following that thread, and I fucking love this, and this is the one I'm like, was this intentional or not? When Peter Parker in Into the Spider-Verse first bumps into Miles, both of their spider senses go off. And Peter Parker's Spider-Man in the original Spider, the OG blonde Chris Pine Spider-Man, has blue and red, Spider-Man's colors.
Yep. Like the color of his costume.
And then it cuts to Miles, who's standing there with his spider sense going off, but his is green and purple. And knowing what we now know, that he was intended to become the Prowler, his spider sense was the Prowler's colors. I'm like, that's so good. That's such a fucking cool detail.
Because it's so subtle in terms of it's just 2 colors, and then the colors, because he's becoming Spider-Man now, just shift and they line up with the blue and red.
It's a great scene. Even in Into the Spider-Verse, it's a great scene.
Yes.
Because Miles is like different colored. He turns to Spider-Man colors because they tune in, and you're like, oh, cool. He's now syncing up to Spider-Man.
He's
like
Spider-Man
he's becoming
now.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Nice. Knowing what we know now, that scene is fucking awesome.
It's a whole new. They've added a whole new layer on to their previous film.
Yeah. But there's just so much, and I'm like, how much of this was all planned?
And then obviously the biggest one that plays a large factor in this movie
the bagel.
is the bagel, which also has a weird connection to
Everything Everywhere All at
Once.
Once.
For bagels are, but yeah, when Miles and Jake Johnson Spider-Man are
what are they calling him? Slacky Spider-Man?
See,
Slacker, I think.
Spider Slacker. We'll go for Spider Slacker. When those two are running away with the computer that they need,
The doodad. There's always a doodad or a gidget or a
and then he turns around and just happens to throw a bagel, and he just hits a guy. And when
Random
you're watching
guy.
the movie, you never think about it.
It's
again.
a gag.
It's a funny gag.
The word bagel comes up like a comic book. It's
and
funny.
Door slams open. Guy gets hit by bagel.
Bagel.
The movie moves on, and you move with it because you're interested to see where the movie's going to go.
Because it's a random Alchemax employee
Exactly.
who means nothing.
Who hit by a bagel. Turns out that fucked up his life, and he then becomes the Spot, which is this massive. At first, a guy who can create some portals, but then he evolves into a multi-dimensional monster that can destroy any dimension that he wishes.
He's a multiverse hopping maniac. And there's a lot of really cool stuff with that as well. So have you seen it once, twice?
Once.
So I've only seen it once as well. I like I said, I'm deep into the Easter egg hole.
Yeah.
When the Spot is telling him about the spider that gets sucked out of the other universe, sitting at the table is Miles
with the Prowler haircut.
Just about to get bitten by the spider. The other thing I really liked, and this is another one of these, the kind of villains, a bad, what do they say? Your villain is a bad, untrustworthy narrator. He's telling Miles, he's like, you ruined my life. I had it all. I was awesome, and I was sexy, and I was good looking, and blah, 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 blah. And then you see in his lab his ID. So in all the stories, he's like clean cut. He's kind of like an Iron Man look. He's got these glasses. He's like cool looking guy. Yeah. In that lab ID, he's got greasy long hair. It's like a blink and you'll miss it like thing. But he's like, this guy didn't have it all together. He was clearly fucked from.
He's just a slob.
He's just a slob. He's just some weird scientist. There's so much. Jason Schwartzman's character as well is fucking great casting.
I mean, you can say that across the voice acting again. Like everyone, like Oscar Isaac. Oh, he's just so
menacing,
imposing, and so menacing. Like I love when you see Spider-Man 2099. He's just so big and bulky
in comparison to every other Spider-Man. Like he's got so this imposing. Crazy physique,
and Oscar Isaac's voice just feels imposing. Even if you're not looking at him, you just feel how like he will just tower over you. And it's the same with like obviously the original cast we've already loved, but just the new people they bring in. And I think my absolute standout favorite that I didn't know about this character, and I've never seen any of the comic books of this character, and I didn't even really know it existed, was the Spider-Man in Mumbai Hatton.
Yeah.
Fucking incredible.
Pravita Pravati, right?
Yes.
Like, so yeah, Karen Sony is the voice actor, and he just delivering his usual kind of like exuberantly happy, friendly like voice acting. But yeah, like what a fucking cool...
I loved Mumbai Hatton. I loved the look of that place. I loved the set piece that happened there with the building. It brings in Diane Kalu as well. The way those four characters all bounce off of each other, and also then watching how they differently use their powers. Like with the Indian Spider-Man, he's got this little device thing that he uses
like
to
yo-yo kind of thing
to like propel his webs and stuff, and his hair is magnificent. And it's just like how just in the chai tea latte bit, like they didn't overdo it. It's like,
but it's a good gag.
It's like chai tea is just already means tea. Like stop saying
tea.
Like I love those little things. Like
I think for me it was Holby where I was Spider-Punk's introduction. I was
and then
like but it's crazy. You're right. Like it's crazy that these characters get not minimal, but they don't get a lot of screen time, really.
But they make such an impact.
Like they're so important to the story, and they just feel so important.
Because I really want to see that character come back in the next one. Because I'm like, I loved that character so much, and then it's the same with Daniel Kaluuya's Spider-Punk. I'm just like, he's obviously coming back with kind of the way they set things up.
Yeah, of course.
And I love when they go to the future, and he's just there in the background, and and him and Miles Morales are just not getting on, and he's just like. Because obviously he has a thing with Gwen. Yeah. So Miles Morales is just like, why are you always like this? Like, you think you're cool? And they're just like...
And he's like grabbing bits of machinery and he's like hiding it. And you're like, what the fuck's he doing? And then he's like, you know what? I fucking quit. And he throws his thing down. And then he comes back. I didn't pick up on this, but the bits of machinery he was stealing was to make his own
little like
device to get that
dimensional device thing, yeah.
So well thought out.
Yeah,
just the fact it shows you that. Because it could have just been like... They could have easily hand waved like, Spider-Punk had a device in his own universe. He had his own guy in a chair. Don't worry about it. But they show you him stealing bits of Spider Society to make
and also his introduction is just beautiful. Where it's just like, oh, we need to get past this barrier, and they're all doing this thing, and he just comes like firing in punk music, guitar, like everything just exploding on the screen, and it's just like we just had this Indian Spider-Man that just created this such new, colourful, exciting world. And then within the same universe, we're like, boom, here's someone else. It's just like, I loved that whole section. And then I loved when we went to the next section. And even though the next section is exposition heavy, it's like really interesting.
Done very well.
Really done well. Really interesting exposition. The way it's fed to you, I'm just like, oh, give me more. I just want to...
They've created a really interesting narrative and a really interesting story. And that brings me to and this is genuinely my final like issue. So I have very few. Issue one that it's part one of a two-parter. It's not a self-contained film. That's my probably biggest issue. Issue two. Is this issue? Do I have two issues? I think I might have two issues. I maybe said something else, but I've got like two or three issues. My other biggest issue, and I think this is going to get actioned in part two. So I'm not hang up on it. I'm not but one of the big things that's annoyed me is that Spider-Man, who I fucking love, has always been, with great power comes great responsibility. He always wants to do right. He always wants to make sure that like he wants, and a big part of Spider-Man's mentality is he wants to save everyone, and that's often a foil for him that he can't save everyone, but he wants to save everyone.
Like, think of how many Spider-Man movies where he's been given the choose this one or this one type of thing.
That's like a Spider-Man classic. You know what I mean? Like, you can have Mary Jane or the school bus of kids, and you have to pick one, and he goes for both. You know what I mean? Like,
but in the end, it comes back to bite him in the ass.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it always happens. It's big Spider-Man kind of like character. So my one other gripe, and I think the reason they didn't go too deep into it, I'll come to, but my one other gripe is that Miles Morales, up until the end of the film, is the only Spider-Man that is like, no, this seems shitty. Like, why are we not just doing our best to work on the actual disease rather than the symptoms? You know what I mean? Like, why and on top of that, why are we letting people die when we could be safe? My one gripe, and that's a character thing. And like I said, I think it's going to come into the second film. I do think they're going to deal with this, and obviously Gwen and Spider Slacker and Noir and Ham and Penny Pie and all of them have come around to it. But all through that first film, all of them are like, look, Miles, it's just the way it is. And I was like,
for me though, really? I was okay and on board with that, because the way everyone talks about Spider 2029 is just like, he's amazing. Like, when you meet him, like, he's so, and I feel like he's just able to do that charismatic, like, here's the issue. And he's able to win the people over. And it took Miles, who, as a character, shouldn't exist because he is not supposed to be Spider-Man, because the Spider is not from his universe. So it took someone outside of the loop of these Spider-Men to be like, are you crazy? No. And then for other people to be like, oh, yeah, well, he's right. Yeah. Why are we listening?
Hey, I get it in the context of the movie 100%. This is why it's a little thing, a niggle I have, but it's a really minor one, and I've not let it detract from the film. But it is just like as a huge Spider-Man fan, that was the one thing I got to the end and I was like, other Spider-Men would have. And this is kind of to counter my own gripe. The reason I think they've not explained it massively is because Rick and Morty have just gone through their last season 6. Season 5, sorry. I think this was the end of season 5. Anyway, Rick and Morty have basically just done that exact thing. So in Rick and Morty, Morty finds out that Rick has created a infinite curved loop universe where the only Rick and Mortys that are allowed in this cycle are the ones that are willing to use Mortys as a
foil or
but just use them as cannon fodder basically. And
that's so fucked up.
and if there's any universes where there's something smarter than Rick, it's been blocked out of this loop. So I think the reason they've not explained it massively is because it's if they go down the route of so 2099 Spider-Man's actually cherry-picked the Spider-Man that he knew he could...
Yeah. Because he does do that whole thing of just it's a very exclusive club.
Yeah.
And Miles shows up this is an exclusive club. There's so many people here. Yeah, but it's these are the ones who will fall in line.
So I think if they'd gone down too close to the route of Spider 29's been cherry-picking the ones that he knew he could, convince... it would have had too close to a parallel to Rick and Morty. Do you know what I mean? Which was only a couple years ago, so it would have felt too close. So I think that's why. Or it's just going to be one of these look, to tell an interesting, fun, engaging story, you just have to accept that the Spider-Men,
because there is a lot of them.
There's fucking loads of them.
Holy that's some of the other things not even talked about is
there's too many things to talk about.
There's so many things but you get the Donald Glover as the Prowler cameo.
Fucking great cameo. That's from the MCU. And MCU and Sony officially, they're in bed together now.
There's the Venom thing with the lady from
Venomverse. You've got Raimiverse. You've got Garfield's one pops up.
And then there's even
the original animated series. You've got the comic books. You've got
the video games.
Chibi. You've got the fucking video game.
You've got his not guy in the chair is literally sitting there playing the Spider-Man video game, which is just a mind-melting idea. And then you've got a spider T-Rex, and it's his canon event was the meteor killing his parent or something. And
what is it? Peter Parkersaurus, I think.
I need the car as well.
Peter Parked car.
It's just
See, and what I fucking love about this, and don't get me wrong, I know it's because it's the comics have already done it, so obviously the characters is. All of those characters are comic legit. They exist in the Spider-Verse. They haven't just made up these what would be funny? T-Rex. Bang that. You know what I mean? They're wait, girl, what can we put in here? this exists and it's mental. Put it in. Fuck yeah.
And there's even like, because I'm not that well versed in comics and stuff, and you're the Spider-Man guy, but there's the Spider-Man that this was apparently a style of the time, both the way they drew and the way they wrote, which is like how many gets to the I'm in the alleyway.
Oh, the Scarlet Spider Ben Reilly.
Yeah.
And Andy Samberg.
That type. Oh, it's Andy Samberg. I didn't know that. Yeah. But like that type of stuff, we're like, oh, we're going to specifically.
He's edgy, but he's kind of stupid, and it's the bit where he's like, "I'm in the alleyway. I look left. I look right. It all looks okay.
Something suspicious out there, though."
So good.
And then the way he's drawn as well, and everything.
Yeah.
I'm just like, it's all these things. But it is weird though when you see Donald Glover in the universe, and you're just like, oh, my eyes are like, what?
Yeah, like the live action mixed with with that specific style of animation is kind of.
So I'm glad they only did that one, and then the rest were just like.
And then they did the Venomverse, but the rest of it all.
Oh yeah, the Venomverse. Yeah, shockingly, I keep forgetting about the Venomverse.
Yeah, and like Molina's Doc Octopus has his little one-line cameo. There's just so much. If you're a Spider-Man fan, if you've enjoyed any of the movies. If you are a Spider-Man fan, it's a smorgasbord for you. You're going to go and you're going to cream your pants.
Yeah, you even see the canon events from Raimi Spider-Man and then Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I love that we say Raimi Spider-Man, but then not the director of but then it was Mark Webb, which is like perfect.
Is it Mark Webb?
Yeah, Mark Webb did the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
So, finishing up our chat here, what do you think? What's your expectations for Beyond the Spider-Verse? What do you think are going to be the story beats? How do you think they're going to wrap? Like, I don't want you. Let's not go crazy deep into this. But what do you think they're going to do? Do you want me to go first?
I don't even know if I've begun to think about it because I've been thinking about this movie. I haven't even begun to think about.
So my thoughts on the next film is going to be, Prowler Miles is going to. So they're going to just be at ends. They're going to be at odds. They're not going to agree, and then Prowler Miles will come in. What was that happened outside?
It's my car being towed.
I think Prowler Miles is going to come in, and I'm not sure. I can't tell if he's going to die, and that's going to become our Miles' canon event. Like he's going to lose. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Or
if Prowler Miles is going to come around and he's going to save the day and end up as his universe's Spider-Man.
I do see Prowler Miles and Spider Miles. Like they will end up working together.
Yeah,
but one of them, I mean, he's already lost his dad, and he's lost his uncle.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be some sort of blending there to be like.
There's going to be something, right? There's going to be
where they both maybe get the uncle and the dad type thing, because I think you have to have this character come out of this.
I think Spot's going to be. Sorry, you finish what you said.
I was going to say, I think you have to have Miles. With what they're saying, I feel Miles has to come out the other side of this, being able to overcome these losses so that he doesn't have to become someone who is motivated by loss, but instead motivated by something positive and better. Because so much of Spider-Man is like, I lost my uncle, and now I want to...
And Miles has lost his uncle. That's the thing. Like, he lost his uncle there. And, like, so, and I think that's the other part of it is because, like, I don't think... it's a tricky one. I don't know if they're going to do Miles needs to lose his dad. Miles has to do like it's a canon event. You can't fuck with canon events. Like I don't know if they're going to follow that thread or if Miles will change it. But then I don't know what his story arc would be. If you know what I mean, like it's a which I'm excited for because it's like I don't know how they're going to deal with it.
I think his arc will be antithetical to the other Spider-Man's arcs because their arcs have always been. I've lost my uncle. That's what motivates me to be Spider-Man. Yeah. And I lose people, but I save people. Yeah. Whereas I think his will be, I don't want to lose someone, but I want to save people. And I don't need to lose someone to want to save people. And I think that will be his, like... Plus, he's seen it now. He knows. He's like, I don't need this to be my... Because I'm already Spider-Man, and I want to be Spider-Man. Like, it's...
Like, I'm a mistake, but... I'm not going to let that.
Maybe it is that he doesn't get to be with Gwen. That's what he loses out on. He loses out on a relationship, but gets to keep his family. He has to make
that choice. He has to be like, you have to give it. Like, he has to give up something.
Because this movie goes hard on like, I like Gwen. I want to be with Gwen. And but now the movie's like, but you could lose your dad. And he's like, well, if I've got to choose, it's like Gwen.
If he has to choose, he's going to take both options though, because he's Spider-Man.
Yeah,
that's the rules. I don't know. I think the Spot stuff is going to be dealt with by the half of the movie. I think the next film is going to be Spot for the first half, Spider Society second half. Because where they've left it is Spot is already full power.
Yeah.
about to rip apart a universe. So
I think
there's no way they can be like, and now half a movie dedicated to Miles fighting the Spider-Verse. Because the whole time we'll be sitting there like,
yeah, there's so much for them to tackle in this next movie.
it's crazy.
Like,
so I think next film is going to be, he's going to escape from the Prowlerverse, maybe first, it can't be first act because the Spot's doing it. Like,
also, you need that time with Prowler Miles to like have them have their
so it's I don't know, maybe the good, maybe it's Spider-Gwen's group's going to go and save his dad. But then it feels weird that their main character's just out of that fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, the Spot can't not fight Miles. But then it's just crazy. I don't know what they're going to do.
You want Miles up against Spot, you want Miles to save his dad, and you want Miles to deal with
the Spider Society.
Yeah. But you can't have Miles do all of that. But if you've got two Miles...
Exactly.
Then you could have... Because I think the greatest thing would be for Prowler Miles to get to save his dad like he didn't before.
You might be right.
So he goes to do
Prowler
that.
Miles goes and fights the Spot. Simultaneously, our Miles goes and fights the Spider Society. Ooh, that could be it. And then 2099 is going to be like, no, you're breaking the canon. And Miles will be like, no, we're just making new canon.
Yeah.
Pow!
Does an electric punch thing like in the video games.
Yo, man, use your whole palms, not your fingertips.
It's just... Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. But it's like, I think 2.5, 3 hours this next one.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so... Because then you also need to then like...
Buzzing.
Don't do that. Because then you also need the time at the end to like have your wrap up.
Yeah.
And also, I learned that the amount of money this movie made in 12 days is more than the first one made in its entire box office run.
No way.
So...
Holy shit.
This third one's going to make fucking...
Bang.
It could reach the billion mark.
That'd be sick.
And Sony's not going to be like, well, we've done our trilogy. There we go. We'll move on. Like, there's going to be more.
If we get a solid, and I think we're going to, because they're not going to change the team from this to the next film. If we get a good, if that's it, the trilogy can stand alone, I will be happy. Yeah. I will not need any more Spider-Man. I'll always take more Spider-Man.
And they'll do it.
And I will do it, but I will be happy for them to be like, 1, 2, 3, there's your star, your dinner, your dessert.
Yeah.
And now we're going to do 4, 5, 6. And I'll be like, cool, give me it. Because you've done, this is perfect. Anything else is now icing on the cake. And if it ends up being a bit shit because you over-egg it and you stretch it too far, it's cool. I have my meal.
Yeah. You've done your Miles Spider-Verse. You can now do a T-Rex movie, or you can do another Miles Morales movie, or you can do Spider... What we call him? Spider Sloppy? Spider
Slacker.
Spider Slacker. You can do something with that.
Yeah. Like, well, I know he's done. His story's arc's finished, right?
But you can do a prequel. Like, let's see him when he's just Spider-Man.
Losing.
Or we can do a Chris Pine one. Like, they can do anything.
Yeah.
And they can be like, it doesn't even have to be...
This team that's dealing with these Spider-Man films, I would be more than happy if they were just like, cool, we're doing the next Spider-Man film. No Miles, no multiverse. It's a self-contained Spider-Man fighting the Sinister Six. But we're doing it. I'd be like, fuck yeah, cool,
that's
gimme.
the most annoying thing.
Give me that.
And this will tie into me shitting on the Spider-Man No Way Home, because I've been wanting to do that for a bit now, is we have been promised our Sinister Six movie for so long, and so many different iterations, where it was the Raimi one, where number 4
Raimi didn't get to the Sinister Six, did it?
4 was going to like get there though. 4 was going to start that path.
You're right, okay.
And we already had so many villains that we could do that. And then obviously Amazing Spider-Man 2 did
Spider-Man 2 set it up.
We're like, hey, we've got all these sinister guys
and he was walking through
in a basement.
The hallway, and he had the wings and the Doc Ock arms and the whatever else.
And then No Way Home kind of did.
No Way Home started it with Scorpion and Vulture.
But then never followed it up.
Never followed it up.
And then it instead just did a, here's...
But it has also introduced Mysterio, who I don't think is dead, so like, but like, who's an extra one? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, cool. They can't. And no, Rhino is in Garfield.
Rhino was in Garfield?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant like the animated cat movie Garfield. I was like, wait, what? Why is Rhino in Garfield?
No. Yeah. So Rhino is. So yeah. So we've only got a couple in the. And then obviously the last Spider-Man.
Yeah, No Way Home did like a weird
bunch
multiverse.
Sinister 5,
but it was.
Why didn't they just go the full hog and do one more villain, and then at any point they could have had somebody say like, They've created a team like some kind of sinister.
J. Jonah Jameson could have either just gone. It's like a sinister six out there.
Yeah, one
Done.
little
Easy.
cutaway gag.
Done.
Total fan service, but they just had 5.
And not even a great 5. Like
Who is
Sandman,
it? Lizard, Sandman, Electro,
Goblin, and
Doc Ock. I mean, that's like a pretty.
I just mean in terms of like the character,
What do
you
you
know?
mean?
Because I mean, like Electro, for example, from Amazing Spider-Man 2. No, just no. Sandman. With his arc in Spider-Man 3, it doesn't make sense to have Sandman.
Yeah.
But you can just do it because it's visually we can do the
And
sand
it's because he
shit.
came out just before he.
I know that, but I just mean in terms of like
The time was funny, right?
what they did with that character in those movies. It just didn't. I didn't want him there. And then Lizard, you're like, okay.
Yeah, Lizard was a weird one.
It was like Doc Ock and Green Goblin were like, here's
Cool.
your selling points, and then we just got some other guy.
Yeah,
And that's the big comparison I have to make is when we saw No Way Home, we both liked it. I still think it's a decent movie.
it holds together.
It holds together. It's fun, but the way that handles multiverse and cameos and Easter eggs and the larger story, looking at I've forgotten the name of the movie all of a sudden.
Across the Spider.
Looking at Across the Spider-Verse and also Into the Spider-Verse, it's like, holy fuck, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
And this looks like chump change.
Yeah, it looks like fucking dog
Like
shit next to it.
like it's again.
What
it's,
came out first? Into the Spider-Verse, right? Into the Spider-Verse was
Into
the
the
first
Spider-Verse came
Spider-Verse
first.
thing.
And
Not
then-
Spider-Verse. Into the Spider-Verse was the first multiverse thing.
Yeah, and then
and everything else has kind of just been trying to emulate it to some degree.
because with No Way Home's approach to it, it felt like we have a kind of a script. Let's just punt in Tobey Maguire, pause so the audience can cheer and record their video. Okay, Tobey Maguire's here now, and it's like, here's Andrew Garfield. The only person that felt like we had an idea for them was Green Goblin,
Yeah,
because like he does something, and it feels like that character's there. Everyone else just kind of feels like we're just doing this for the trailer, or hey, let's wait for the audience to applaud, and we do the behind the scenes of the 3 Spider-Men. It's
Look,
just like,
all these villains from other universes are coming in.
but it just felt all very like
Let's not get into this before I start shitting all over it. But
it all just felt very kind of like slapped together.
all those people that were like, I don't think Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire are going to turn up in the film. You don't think they've got the villains from those universes without bringing those Spider-Men back? You honestly don't think they're going to bring? Well, the trailers, they're not in the trailer. Who are you kidding, Marvel? Who do you honestly think doesn't believe that you haven't managed to tie? And you had Garfield on the press release like, I've not had a phone call from. Fuck off, Andrew Garfield.
That poor guy though, poor Garfield, where he was promoting 2 other movies, and all people asked him was, "Are you in Spider-Man?"
Are you in Spider-Man, by the way?
He's like, "Okay, but I'm doing this movie over here. Can we talk about that?" The best cameo in that movie is Charlie Cox's Daredevil, because that's one you're like, okay, cool, and we're gonna do something with it.
Yeah.
The other ones just feel like, hey, look, it's that guy you remember. Look, he said the thing.
It's all we're delving into MCU shitting on territory here, Gav.
I know.
So we got to come out of it, but very quickly. Give me more Spider-Verses. Give me less everything else. I'm so sick of it all.
When it comes to comic book movies, all I care about now is Spider-Verse, and I kind of want to watch Morbius too.
No, you don't. Don't say that. Don't wish that into existence.
Give me Morbius 2.
What you put out there will come into existence.
I
And you're
want
gonna have to
Morbius 2.
you're
I'm
gonna
saying
have to
it.
fucking deal
I'm
with it.
declaring it. I want Morbius 2.
Anyway, I think we've probably tapped this well for now.
Here's the thing. We've tapped the well, but the well's still so full of more
It's so
things we could
full.
talk about.
I could continue to talk about
Because here's what's going to happen.
Spider-Verse.
We're going to see the
We're
movie
gonna-
a second time, probably.
Here's what's going to happen. We're going to turn off the mics and wrap up this episode, and we're going to talk for another 50 fucking minutes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. As always, that was a very deep dive into one of the best and most promising movie series that is currently able to get on and watch. If you are listening to this, I'm gonna single one person out here.
Okay.
Mum. When you listen to this episode in 6 months to 8 months, Mum the other day was like, "Oh, I've been listening to your episode. It's something about like you guys are living together with like a villain," and I was like, "Mum, that was 3 years ago."
That was 2019 we recorded that.
And she's like, "Well, you're so good," and I'm like, Anyway, Mum, when you listen to this episode in 8 months...
I love how you're like, Mum, you listen to this in 8 months. When you listen to this in 4 years.
When you eventually get around to this, Mum, please watch Spider-Verse with me.
For context, Jenny, you're about to go to Greece for 2 weeks. That helps timestamp it for you. You're going to Greece with Gary and Hannah and the rest of the family.
Yeah, thank you all for listening. That was a long episode, but hopefully you've enjoyed our kind of ramblings and chats. If you've got any... can we put those little question boxes on Spotify now?
Yeah.
We're going to put something on Spotify. So if you listen on Spotify, please send us some thoughts.
Scroll down.
There'll
be a little question box. We'll have put a question in there for you to answer. Question to be determined.
We'll figure something out.
But in the meantime...
If you're on Spotify, scroll down. For everybody else, please get in touch with us on our socials. We are on Twitter, @meanderingpod.
Yeah, in the description for everything is there. I didn't know why I said that. Into the description of the Spider-Verse, there is everything that you may need. There is Twitter, there is Facebook, there is Instagram, there is an email as well. You can contact us on all of those things. You should contact us about Spider-Verse, things we didn't talk about that you want us to talk about, if you want us to talk about it more, if you want another episode of your favourite things, your least favourite things, and also, where are you going on holiday this summer?
Have we had any emails?
Well, we're big in Norway.
Is that fact?
I didn't look into it, but apparently we're big in Norway.
If you're out there in Norway, thank you so much for listening. This one's for you. Takk skal du ha. Takk skal du ha.
Hello.
Hello. Music is life.
It's meandering movies. It's meandering movies. It's meandering movies. So won't you lend an ear?